those insects have that biological process where the same organism changes forms from one form to another form to another form. But it is the same organism. It starts with a caterpillar, then a pupa, then a mature butterfly. That's metamorphosis. So similarly, society should metamorphose, should evolve, like the European society did. If you went back to 1400, you would not find in Europe, you would have found a different structure of society. You would have found the feudalists. Somebody was talking about William the Conqueror. You would have found the feudalists. You would have found the artisans, the blacksmith, the carpenter, the cobbler, and you would have found the peasants. But you would not have found the middle class because they were not there. And you would not have found the industrial class, the proletariat, because they were not there. So, therefore, when you have these medicines, because here you are social doctors, you are looking for social medicine for some issues concerning land. What you need to know is to know that you are dealing with a society that has suffered from stunted growth. Okuningama. You know, English is a poor language. They don't have enough words. If you are speaking Runyankore, I would help you with the many of the words. Stunted growth in Runyankore is called Okuningama. When you find somebody who should be a mature person, but he still looks like a child. The African societies are societies which are suffering from stunted growth. They have not metamorphosed in the last 600 years. You are dealing with society. We are dealing with the societies which have not gone through the Industrial Revolution. We are dealing with the pre-capitalist societies. Societies before the big changes that happened in some parts of the world and have been happening in Asia recently. So therefore, what we are doing here is to provide stimuli for these societies to change now. Fortunately, normally in life, stunted growth is incurable. If somebody is suffering from stunted growth, you cannot easily reverse it. But fortunately for society, apparently you can stimulate transformation even when it is late. So you need to take what you have now, which is stunted growth. That's what you have now. Because what you have are mainly peasants. We used to have feudalists. We had a feudal class, but that feudal class was emasculated by colonialism, and it sort of disappeared. Then, during the colonial times and after, we had a middle class, a type of middle class, but mainly bureaucratic middle class. clerks, priests, some teachers. These are not part of the production process. They are not producers of wealth. They are bureaucrats. They are eaters of wealth. And I think many of them are heavily represented in this room. So one of the writers, Frantz Fanon was somebody from Guadeloupe. He wrote about this bureaucratic middle class. I don't want to say many words about it. So that's what you find, a lot of peasants and a bureaucratic middle class, which has come from the time of colonialism. And yet, we want to shift this society to a healthy trajectory of growth, because this is not a healthy trajectory of growth. You cannot grow with the peasants and with a consuming, non-productive, really parasitic, bureaucratic middle class. The sectors of wealth and jobs, also remember that's our aim. We want to create wealth and jobs are four. It is commercial agriculture. If you're in commercial agriculture, you are creating wealth, and you are also creating jobs. The second sector is industry, manufacturing. If you build a factory, you are creating its wealth, but you are also creating jobs. If you establish a hotel like this one, this is part of services sector. Hotels, banks, transport, these are services sector. This is wealth, but it's also creating jobs. You can see all these young people who are working here in the hotels. And then the ICT, which is a new technology, which is creating new forms of wealth which did not exist before. So therefore the question you should answer is, how can the land we have, the 240,000 square kilometers, be managed in order to deal with these forms of wealth? We have had some skirmishes in the rural areas among the tribes because many of our people were in primitive agriculture for just eating, what they call subsistence agriculture. You just grow what to eat, and you use primitive tools, and you use low technology. So you find that some of the tribes, they become overpopulated, and they shift to new areas, and you create frictions among the groups that these people are coming to take our land. Now, this is because those people are not yet aware that agriculture is only one of the sectors that has got wealth in it. Now there's beginning to be, because like in Uganda, the Wachiga, the Wafumbira, were shifting from their tribal area to other areas. And the other people were saying, oh, these people, you know what they call them? You know the name? Abafurichi. Uh, but now, because the Ugandans are, you know, I studied French for about 5 months in 1962, and I was moving very well. Fermez la porte, ouvrez la porte. So I was really moving well. But the problem was, some of the words were women and some were men. So I asked the teacher, Mr. Byers, I said, Mr. Byers, how can I know which word is woman and which word is man? And Byers said, no, you must, there is no law, you must remember everything in your head. I said, I have had enough. I have had enough with European languages because I was really tired of English. You see, because the only reason of a European language is Italian. Because Italian is like our languages, whereby you write the way you speak. Phonetic is the same like you write. But English, what is like weighing something, weighing. I wanted to write it in Runyankore way. W-E-Y-I-N-G. But they said, no, you are wrong. So the W-E-I-G-H. Where is the Ga coming from? There is no Ga. So I was already tired with the European languages, so I forgot about French. But I picked a few words nevertheless. And one of them which I like most is beaucoup dormir. Now Africans, in Africa, beaucoup dormir. There is a lot of sleeping in Africa. So, when people have been fighting about the land, the migration and all that, this is because they thought agriculture is the only form of wealth. But now, people are going from other parts of Uganda and buying land in Isoro now. Not to grow crops, but to build hotels. Because Chisoro is near the national parks, is near the Bwindi, impenetrable forest, near Mugahinga. So Ugandans are now waking up. A little bit of, what do you call waking up in France? Waking up. To wake up. Réveillé. In the school we are calling it revival. They would blow the bugle to wake us up. So the Ugandans are now réveillés. They are waking up to find out that it's not just agriculture where you can get wealth and jobs. You can get wealth and jobs in manufacturing. You can get wealth and jobs in services like the hotels which they want to build in Kisoro. You can get jobs, wealth in ICT. So they are waking up now. They are réveillés. So therefore, when you are planning for the land, you should plan for land how it will cope with this new réveillé, the waking up. How will the land be so managed that it will cater for the 4 types of wealth: commercial agriculture, industry, meaning manufacturing, services, and ICT. This is one big question you need to answer. But you cannot have these 4 sectors without having infrastructure, because all of them must be linked or serviced by infrastructure. Now, when we were still, and then the environment, because the biggest wealth of Uganda is this lake here. I don't know why you are closing out the air. Why don't you open those curtains so that very good. You are shutting out the air. Let it come in. Toa in the wako kana. No, the other. No. It's all right. Aha, good. That's enough. So the biggest wealth of Uganda is the very good climate which we have, and therefore in the planning we must be very uncompromising on the issue of the environment. And this means how to protect the shoreline of the lake, to make sure that people do not cultivate up to the edge of the water. Because in that way they create conditions for the soil being swept for the silting of the lake. The river banks must be protected from agriculture, so that they have the filter. You know, again, the English is a poor language. They have no word for this, what they call runoff. The runoff. I don't know why those people didn't have enough words. What we call runoff, we call it omukoka mu Uganda, omutunga, alele in Acholi. All those words mean the water running on the ground. We don't use the word runoff, specific word. So if you have got the mutunga, when I go to England, I will propose to put some of the words in English, because they are more precise. So if you do not have vegetation around the lake and around the rivers, then when the mutunga runs into those water bodies, it carries the soil into it. And yet this vegetation would have filtered the soil, and only clean water would have gone into the lake. The forests, the wetlands, and the mountain tops. Mountain tops should be protected. So you plan for land for agriculture, land for industry, land for services, land for ICT, and then for infrastructure, and then for the environment, protect the vital parts of the environment. I think if you do that, really Uganda it will be impossible to stop, because Uganda is very rich. We have got everything except the other problem of the stunting of the society and all the consequences. But the stunting of the society is curable. Even if since independence we have been moving, and in the time of NRM we have moved even more, we are beginning to have a productive middle class, not the other ones, not the parasitic, bureaucratic middle class. We have the middle class in transport. If you see, all these vehicles are owned by many Ugandans. In real estate, the hotels, the only one where you still have few Ugandans is in the manufacturing. But even there, I'm sure that they will come up. So therefore, we should plan for a modern multi-sectoral economy now. Not the uni-sectoral, the one just agriculture. It is for the multi-sectoral, multi-dimensional economy. Now, with the land systems which we have, which are part of the historical distortions, we have the Mairo land system, we have the Mibanja, the tenants of the other ones. You can imagine we still have like what the French had in 1789. We still have the landlords and the serfs, because that's what they had in France in 1789. The serfs, they were called the serfs versus the landlords. So we still have those distortions. Then we have the a few people who have got freehold titles. We have some people who have got leasehold, and then we have the ones who have got customary titles, customary land. But the threats, in my opinion, the thing to be resolved is really, number one, to be aware that at last, after 600 years of stagnation, Africa is beginning to jump on the historical bus. And jumping on it with the four sectors: commercial, agriculture, industry, services, and ICT, with the infrastructure linking them. And therefore, land should be planned for accordingly. And these archaic systems should be managed in such a way that they are phased out. In the past, we did not want adventurism. We didn't want to run too fast, so we moved a bit slowly. We accommodated them and managed the politics of our country according to the awareness of the population. For instance, we used to have, during the 1966 crisis, when there was a conflict between our groups here, the Uganda Land Commission was given control over all the land in Uganda. But when we came, we thought that was a bit too hasty, because we still had tribes which regarded land as tribal. So we advised our people and said no. And some of the tribes were worried that the other tribes will come take our land. Now, if we had insisted, no, the land must remain with the Uganda Land Commission, then that would have, that fear would have been there, maybe it could have caused problems. But we anticipated that fear. We said, okay, let the land be managed by the district land boards. You take your tribal land. And they are now stealing it. They are what? According to the tribal formulas. So it's now, but we know that because of the correct strategy we have put in motion by, because you know we are also a bit Christian, not very, we don't shout very much, but we do things in a Christian way. And you know what what Jesus taught us? Lead people by example. Let your light so shine before men that they see your good deeds and praise your Father who is in heaven. So we don't push, but we show. That's why I'm always moving around. I'm like a preacher. They could call me a preacher. I'm always preaching. I don't know why they have not given me a title of pastor, but I am some sort of preacher. And we are preaching the transformation from the pre-capitalist mode of life, of working only for eating, to the 4 sectors. Move to the 4 sectors. 4 sectors are commercial agriculture, industry, services, ICT. And the people are beginning to move. And those who move do better than the ones who don't move. So the word goes around that these funny people, these NLM people have been talking. It seems they have a point. So things are beginning to move. And therefore, you the planners, be clear. Don't mix up issues. Know that you are planning for a society that was left behind by history. But it can catch up. And in order to catch up, 1, 2, 3, 4. So therefore, and this you will cover your areas of planning for housing, planning for towns, planning. But this, you cannot have houses around only consuming. Whatever plan you have, whether you are planning towns, whether you are planning housing, remember the healthy form of planning is to plan around the 4 modern sectors, which are commercial agriculture, industry, services, ICT. You plan for those. Then the towns are mainly to service those wealth-creating, job-creating activities, not just dormir. Just if you plan for dormir only. How do you say dormir only? How do you say it in French? Huh?
To sleep only.
Dormir
Seulement.
Dormir seulement. We don't want to plan for dormir seulement. No, it is housing around wealth and jobs. When I came from, one of the problems we are having in the tribal areas is land fragmentation by inheritance. Somebody has got 3 acres of land, he has got 6 children, mainly boys, and when he dies, the 3 are divided by 6. So a small farm which was 3 acres now becomes half an acre, half an acre, half an acre. Each one tried to build his own house in his half an acre, to have his own choronyo. Magara piteka muzungu jogotu kireke. They don't want to translate that. They have told me that I should not translate it. So, the homes consume all the land. The so-called homes, because the so-called homes are just inefficiently built. So when I came from the bush, I found my father had started with his children there to mismanage our land at Waikito. I said to Mzee, this land is not for Doromir. Is not for Doromir what? This land is not for Doromir Sobe. This is for production. So you and me and all of us will build on one spot. And we use the rest of the land. Because you see, traditionally, each boy, once he becomes 18, goes and puts a home there. Another one there. Another one there. The land is... So, one of the dangers is the land fragmentation through primitive inheritance. The second problem is the old system of the Milo land, this one of evictions and all that and all that. That must be addressed. And then the environment. That's also another big danger. But the whole planning must be to plan around the 4 sectors, the 4 money-making sectors. Of course, here I did not talk about the public service. The public service, it's not a wealth creator, but it's a facilitator of some sort. So therefore, you also need to plan for the offices of the departments, for the schools, for the housing of the public servants. You need to plan for that one also. So I thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. Now I want to congratulate the World Bank for helping in the computerization, because this one deals with record keeping. But what records are you keeping? You must answer that original question. Are you keeping healthy records? Or are you keeping the records of land fragmentation? A farm which was 3 acres has now become a half an acre. Of course, you can keep it in the computer, but that will not help you or help the economy. Yes, the information will be available, but it will not be useful information because you will have created a disability for that land. So therefore, I want you, the strategists, to think about this challenge. It's not only here in Uganda. I think it may be even in other places of Africa. Because in many parts of Africa, it is the same problem. People who have missed the historical bus, trying now to get on the bus and doing so quickly in a very short time. And the way things have moved, like in Uganda, you can see things have moved very fast. So things can move very well if we plan well. I thank you. It's my pleasure now to do what? Open the conference.